Recording in progress. This is the start. Hello, it is a pleasure to meet Teresa and Rainer from Australia. Hello, Rainer and Teresa. Hi.
Hallo Matthias.
So
Matthias,
wonderful.
schön dich zu sehen hier, so weit weg. Am Ende der Welt leben wir hier.
Ja, wir sind 16,000 kilometers
Ja,
between us. Huh? 16?
Yes.
I think so.
wunderbare Technology.
Wow. Yes, thank you for that. Rainer, we would like, maybe it's good idea that we speak in English, because we have some many great publicum, and they are not comfortable with German and mix up. If we mix up sometimes, so no worries. But it's a very great pleasure. Wonderful, Teresa. It's wonderful. And yeah, we will start. The idea is, with this interview, that we give an idea about your journey. We will talk about Moscow and Dr. Fedorenko, your way to this, and the situation in Australia. Because I didn't know why HSCT is so unpopular. Yeah, and yeah, then we will start. Maybe Teresa, you start to introduce yourself and
Sure. Okay. Well, my name is Teresa. I had my first MS symptoms on the 23rd of June 2024. I suddenly just couldn't walk,
well,
and I was hospitalized immediately and had a lot of tests. So it was 3 months later, I was definitively diagnosed with relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis. And in that 3 months, I had a second relapse. So all my speech, my arms, I was buzzing all through my body, as well as not being able to walk. And I had debilitating fatigue. And so it took 3 months for that definitive diagnosis, and it was aggressive. The very active lesion I had in my brain was very aggressive and was affecting my walking. And the neurologist said to me, "You urgently need to have Ocrevus." So I had Ocrevus infusions in October 2024, but I already knew I would be going to Moscow because my sister had been there before me, and I had gone as her carer. So we had the luxury of knowing already about HSCT in Moscow, and that's how I knew about it.
sorry. Your sister also was in Moscow.
Yes, my little sister,
Okay.
she went to Moscow in 2017. So in the year
2017. So your experience
2017,
much more
yes,
longer than not only you.
yes,
You was on in Moscow
I
25.
went to yes, I was there in 2025 for my
Wow.
treatment.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the hospital with my sister in 2017 as her carer, and that is why I was very familiar with the hospital. I had already met Dr. Fedorenko and his wonderful administration officer, Anastasia Penchenko.
Mm.
So I had those connections, and I already knew the hospital and the people working there and how wonderful they were,
Wow.
and also
Yeah.
had seen my sister's success from the procedure. Also, I stayed in the chat group from 2017, the Russia HSCT chat group, because when I went as a carer, there was a lot of people who traveled that were not the patients, and they had questions about, how do I make my way to the hospital every day, or where can I wash my clothes, or all these sorts of questions that I felt I could also answer. So I stayed in the chat group all those years, and therefore I had seen a lot of successful stories and my sister's own story unfold. And that's why when I was first struck and we didn't know what was wrong, and I was in that hospital and they were testing me for 4 different possibilities, it was Reiner when I was in the intensive care who said to me, if this turns out to be MS, you're going straight to Moscow. So, that's even before
Wow.
we knew I had it, before it was diagnosed, we knew that's where I would go. And
Uh,
yeah,
sorry, Teresa, how old are you?
okay. Right now I'm 57 years old.
57 years old. Looks very
Yes.
young, Teresa. Looks
Oh,
very young. And,
thank you. That's
yeah,
very nice of you.
amazing.
And when my symptoms first struck that in that afternoon, it happened, in the morning I was walking around doing everything. I sat down to watch a movie, and when I went to stand up 2 hours later, I couldn't stand up.
Wow.
And I was immediately assessed as EDSS 6.5. And so it just happened just like that,
Wow.
with no warning. Yeah.
With no
So
warning.
that's
But
no
please,
warning.
please, I would like to jump back to your sister. So she
Yes.
went there at 2017.
Yes.
And what was her story? Maybe short. What
Yeah,
was
nice and
there?
short. Yeah, sure. My little sister was diagnosed with RRMS in 2001, and she was a mother of four young children. The eldest was 6, the youngest was 2 months old when she was diagnosed.
Hmm.
So my family, we all got to know that she was having this journey with MS, and she was having the different MS drugs over time, but we really didn't understand multiple sclerosis at all. And but here's our little sister. She would go blind. She would, or her very bad vision, and her walking would be affected if she got sick. Things like she couldn't walk upstairs. And so that was her story. So she did all that usual thing of all the different MS drugs, and some of them were working, some not. Some of them she was worried about and wouldn't take, and things like that. And so she was very fearful her children would be taken from her. She's married with her husband, but she was worried living on a farm that someone would say, oh, you can't look after those children on a farm anymore. So she went through all that suffering. And then what happened was, here in Australia in 2013, on our 60 Minutes program, was a woman in her 30s whose brother lived and worked in Moscow. And he had seen in the newspapers in Moscow that there was this excellent doctor at the clinic, at the Pirogov Hospital in Moscow, doing this HSCT treatment for MS patients. And he contacted his sister and said, you should come and have this treatment. She wasn't the first Australian to go, but it's through that program on 60 Minutes. And my little sister saw that program. And from that moment, she said, I'm going to Moscow. And so, as this young stay-at-home mum, she did have get employment, but she was let go when she had an attack with her MS, and the employer then didn't keep her on. Don't know why, because I don't know what their rules were about having a person with disability in their employment, but anyway, so she then did a lot of fundraising, and in those days, the wait list to get to Moscow for HSCT as an international patient was about 2 years. So she
Oh,
said,
yeah.
"That's great. That'll give me 2 years. I'll do this fundraising." So she did that, and she asked me to go with her. My sister was not really an international traveler. She had been once out of the country to New Zealand, which is our neighboring country. And so I went with her, not only just to be with her as her sister, having a sister in hospital undergoing a serious treatment, but also because with Rana being German, of course, I traveled back and forth, and so I was used to those international traveling situations, and that's why I went with her at the time, and that was in 2017. And I must say, even then, I wasn't the patient, but I was very, very moved by what a beautiful, caring doctor, Dr. Denis Fedorenko in the Pirogov University Hospital. I've just never met such a caring, beautiful doctor, and his team. And he has his administration officer, Anastasia Penchenko, absolutely
Yeah.
beautiful and helpful. And then all the staff, they're just so loving and kind and caring. So when I was asked once by a couple of people, they who were also there to visit their sister in Moscow while she was in the hospital, and before they had met Dr. Fedorenko, they took me to dinner and said, "We've heard all about him. He sounds like a Superman. How would you describe him?" And I said, if I was a person who hadn't known the love of a beautiful brother or a beautiful uncle or a beautiful male friend, I know just by going to Dr. Denis Fedorenko for treatment and care that after that month, you know what it is to have such a beautiful uh, person in your life.
Listen, very good. I have here I have the same experience in Mexico. The people are
Excellent.
so fantastic. But
Yes.
jump please back to your sister.
Yes.
It was HACT in 2017, right?
Yes.
So, what is the progress? This is the most question from all the communities.
Of course.
What are the improvements? What is the result?
Okay.
We know so many DMTs, and we are searching for so many things, and
Yes.
do this, do this, do this, do this. Take your diet, and so on. What is a is there an improvement by your system after the HACT?
Yes.
Can you explain what is this story of
Yes.
2017 to now?
Okay. So if you remember when I said my little sister, and when her children got older and she'd just gotten back into the workforce, and she's a very intelligent young, at that stage, young mother, a very intelligent woman who elected to be a stay-at-home mother. She won a job out of 200 applicants, and she went into her job and was very good at it. She caught a cold of her colleague, a really bad head cold. And she got that head cold, and she was about 10 weeks into that job. And she got to work, and she was walking up the stairs to put her handbag in her locker, and she couldn't get up the stairs because of her MS. Her manager came the other way and said, "Mary, what's wrong?" And she said, "I'm sorry, I have MS, and because of this cold, I can't walk up the stairs." The very next day, she lost her job. Now, the reason I'm telling you that story is because if we jump forward now to 2026, so my little sister, she has not had to one single relapse since her HSCT treatment in Moscow. She has not taken one single MS drug since HSCT in Moscow. She has not gotten blind. She can walk kilometers and kilometers. She loves hiking, is her preferred way of keeping fit. She walks and walks. She can do with my father, who also is a walker, she can walk like 18 kilometers when they're on holidays together and things like that. So she also has a full-time job, which requires some physical strength. And she goes to she's a mad, keen football fan. She goes to the professional football stadium once a fortnight when her team is playing here at home in Brisbane. Brisbane Broncos, I'll give them a shout
Yes.
out. She goes to their games when they're here at home in Brisbane, and
Mhm.
even traveled last year to their grand final game, I think, which was in another capital city. So here is this woman. She's a hands-on grandmother. She has 4 grandchildren, and 2 of them are still just a toddler and a baby. She's a hands-on grandmother. She really, 2 of the other 2 children are like 9 years old, 8 years old, that kind of age group. She looks after them at her home. She also goes to her other daughter who lives in her own home. She goes to the other daughter to help with those 2 little children. So all of these things that were very much affected before she had HSCT in Moscow. Like I said, the different MS drugs they tried for her, which didn't really work. She was constantly tired and lethargic. Her vision was constantly affected. Sometimes she would be hospitalized because she would go so blind, she had to be hospitalized for her own safety because, of course, she's not a person who's trained to be blind, and, so when you think of that and all those little things, and that's me just condensing it really small. And now here she is. Yes, she still has her numbness from the chest down. She still has her pins and needles in her hands, and in her feet. But she can get a cold. She's had COVID. All those things. She does not lose her sight anymore, and she does not lose her
Wonderful.
ability to walk.
Wonderful story. Wonderful story. I cross my fingers for your sister. You talk about a little sister. So how old is your sister now?
My little sister is 2 years younger than me, so I'll be 58 this September, and she'll be 56 this November.
Yeah.
So she's 55 right now.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, but because in Germany they are talking, hey, now they talk to me, say, yeah, Matthias, you would like to have an HSCT. Sorry, in Germany, you are out of range because you are over 50. There is no chance for you to get an HSCT treatment here in Germany. And this makes me a little bit, yeah.
Yes.
Why is this like this, and why the situation is like this? Why, if HSCT is the best treatment,
Yes. Yeah,
the most
that's right.
effective, yeah. Anyway, if you get the HSCT treatment in Moscow or in Mexico or in Germany or wherever, but you must get this treatment opportunity,
Yes.
right?
You must.
Similar here in
Yeah.
Australia.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to actually get the treatment in Australia.
Yes.
It is available,
Yeah,
but
Is
as
it available?
Teresa often said, you need to be almost in a wheelchair
no,
here.
you need to be here in Australia. So my little sister, she wanted to do HSCT in Australia,
Yeah.
and her neurologist said to her, "Oh no, you're not sick enough." What they do here in Australia is, and
Not sick enough.
I'm not criticizing the system at all, because I've had wonderful care and treatment from Australian doctors and specialists. But what frustrates me is this. So my little sister, all those years back, she applied for HSCT in Australia. Her neurologist straight away said, "Oh, Mary, you're not sick enough." Now, Matthias, what is sick enough? Now, let's look at my situation. So, yes, I'm in my mid-50s. This man beside me and me, we're still climbing mountains. We're still doing long treks with heavy packs on our backs through national parks. I work full time. Ryan is now retired. He's a professional opera singer. He conducts a choir. We will do a power walk for 10 kilometers to buy a cup of coffee and come home. That was our life. And all of a sudden, bang, I couldn't walk. Now, I can tell you, Matthias, I was sick enough, because my mental and emotional well-being was I was depressed, weeping every day, and I could not believe this was now my life. And to me, if someone says to me, "You're not sick enough," I say, walk a mile in my shoes and any other MS sufferer's shoes. So here in
100%.
Australia, and it affects my Rhino as well, because I do my chores, he does his chores, I do grocery shopping, he does the cooking, bing, 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 a teamwork thing. Couldn't do any of that anymore. So it also affects your family and the people around you, who all of a sudden have all this responsibility.
Yeah.
So I was sick enough. Now, my little sister, she was doing the most important role of her life, which was raising these 4 tiny little children. And as you can imagine, you need great energy to manage children.
Yeah.
So I found it very frustrating too. But unfortunately, when I knew my little sister could not get through those hoops here in Australia, what they want you to be in Australia is that you're already 100% reliant on a wheelchair or a 4-wheel rollator, like a walker, or you have spent years trying all the different MS drugs, but none of those are really working for you.
Yeah.
So they're the hoops you've got to jump through. So me already knowing this story because of my sister's experience, I just said, I'm not even going to waste my time. I am not going to waste my time asking for Australia to give me HSCT, which I would have been happy to pay for. So that's why I knew to contact Anastasia in Moscow and say, Anastasia, is it safe for me to come to Moscow? I meant safe as in the political situation. Is it
Yeah.
safe for an Australian to come to Moscow? She wrote back to me straight away and said, Teresa, we just waved goodbye to an Australian man 2 days ago. I'll put you in contact. And when I contacted him, he said, Teresa, I felt so safe and I was so beautifully looked after. And there's been more Australians since me. Uh, so, I think most people think, oh, is it safe to go? But once they get there and they're looked after so well with the hospital picking them up and everything,
Yeah.
they feel safe. Sorry if I've gone off on a tangent there, but
Yeah.
that explains to you why I was desperate to go to Moscow,
Mm.
because I know, as Dr. Fedorenko discussed with me, he is about fighting MS, not just treating it, fighting it, and helping patients around the world maintain their quality of life. So he believes as soon as you are definitively diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, you should try to have HSCT as soon as possible. So that's why I went straight to Moscow. I didn't
Yeah.
need to jump all these hoops for 2 years or 3
Mm.
years, only to be told no. And because it's been such a successful treatment for my little sister, and we have the same parents, so I'm hoping the same genes, I
So
thought, well, hopefully
what
my
is
body is the
yeah.
same as hers and reacts successfully to this treatment. Yeah.
What maybe the Germans and the other viewers, also all over the world, our community, like to know what is the reason for MS? Maybe if the sister and you have both MS,
Yes,
can you
which is
imagine?
very rare.
Yes, it's very rare. Can
Mhm.
you imagine where it comes from? Do you have an
Yes.
idea?
Well, where I had the idea, um, e- e- even before my sister had MS, my family, we've always been aware of autoimmune disease because my mother, she was diagnosed with juvenile arthritis at the age of 3. So she was very cautious with, us exercising and having a good diet and things like this. And so we were always aware of autoimmune disease. But what we also knew was with autoimmune disease, you don't necessarily inherit the same autoimmune disease.
Mm.
There's just a little chink in your genes somewhere that means you get a particular thing. So for my mother, she got osteo and rheumatoid arthritis diagnosed at 3 years old.
Okay.
My older sister has um, digestion system issues and asthma, for example.
Mm.
So there's people in the family who've got things like eczema or, things that it's all because of autoimmune problems. So of course I've tried to look at, well, what actually is the reason we have MS, but there's no actual discovered reason yet. Yes, they know things that can trigger it, for example, stress. But the same two people can have the exact same stress, but it's the one with that little chink somewhere in their genetics that they get MS, but the other person doesn't get MS from having the same stress, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
That's just my layperson research,
Mm.
you know. So in the case of my sister and I both having MS, it's very rare. But funnily enough, having said that, while I was in Moscow having my treatment, one of my fellow patients, her brother has MS too.
Uh,
And and he came
uh,
to Moscow with her because he wanted to check it all out in case he decided he would come and have the same treatment. So,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it was just a pure coincidence that we had siblings with MS because apparently it is very rare. It's very rare.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some informations about the treatment HACT, but the most interesting part is you go there, you went there, and now you are free of MS. What is the process after the HACT?
Sure.
What was rules? What was happened? I see
I guess.
you told me about your.
Oh, yes, my curly
Rainer
hair.
and me
So
have the same haircut, so
that's right.
this is okay. But what's about
Yes.
you? Please tell me.
Okay. So my hair, this is my natural color. And my hair before this was just long hair with a little bit of a wave to it. Similar color, but a bit lighter. So even though I'm in my 50s, my hair hasn't gone gray yet. And I really expected my hair to come back gray or white, but it's come back this dark brunette color. But these curls,
Super.
this if you Google chemo curls, it's a
Yeah.
thing. And I'm someone who's got these chemo curls. Now, apparently, it takes 1 to 2 years for them to loosen and fall out.
Mm,
But somebody did write to me when I asked the question
mm.
online, and someone wrote to me and said, Teresa, I got the same curls as you, and I had my HSCT in Moscow 13 years ago, and I've still got them. So Rana and I, we're treating this like a science experiment. I haven't, in Moscow, they buzz cut your hair off the day before you start chemo.
Yeah.
And so that happened to me the 13th of February last year, and I haven't had a haircut since because
Mm.
Rainer is treating this like a science experiment. He wants to see how long, I haven't had a hair. I really want to get a haircut, but he just wants to see how long it goes.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing.
But this seems the HACT seems like this success story in your family and with you.
Yes.
Please, what are the more improvements coming? If
Okay.
you say, wow, this was a situation, this was my handicap before, and my handicap reduced to the.
Sure. Okay. So I think I've mentioned that my EDSS was measured at 6.5 immediately. So that happened overnight. Just I couldn't walk. EDSS 6.5. So while the doctors were doing all the tests, they started me straight away on physiotherapy and occupational therapy. So I will say that for 4 months, they sent these physiotherapists and occupational therapists to our home to work with me. It was very good. And I'd had that second relapse in that time. And so, yes, I was EDSS 6.5 and it was just dreadful. I couldn't do anything useful. And then I was diagnosed in the September and they gave me those Ocrevus infusions in October. They urgently said, you need to have them very quickly. Now, when I was in Moscow, I must say that Dr. Fedorenko and his neurologist said, Teresa, we've looked through all your reports and charts and images from Australia, and we must say that your neurologist in Australia made the best decision to give you that Ocrevus urgently when he did. And so I was very happy to hear that because I was worried, having Ocrevus, will that ruin me having HSCT in any way? And Dr. Fedorenko's answer to that was, no, it won't. He just needed 3 months after Ocrevus before he could start the HSCT. So that's just in case anyone's interested in that.
Yeah.
And so by the time I got to Moscow, after having Ocrevus and all those months of occupational therapy, physiotherapy, and hydrotherapy as well in the pool, by the time I got to Moscow, I just took a walking stick. Again, because I'd been with my sister, I knew I traveled business class, so I knew that the airports and the airlines would look after me like I was royalty. That's the experience my sister had. So I had wheelchair assistance. I asked for wheelchair assistance in the airport, so I knew I didn't have to do a thing but just turn up. And once they have you in your wheelchair, they do everything for you. And so I left my four-wheel rollator here at home and just took a walking stick. So when I first couldn't walk, I couldn't use a walking stick because I would fall over and the physios would all catch me.
Yeah.
So by the time I went to Moscow, I could walk a little bit with a walking stick. So I went to Moscow with my walking stick, and Dr. Fedorenko and his neurologist then assessed me as EDSS 4.0, because now I could walk with my little walking stick. And in my hospital room, which was lovely, I could walk around without the walking stick. And I would go out into the hospital gardens and do little walks there and just sit down. It was winter, so they had a little chapel there, and I would sit for a rest in there before walking back. So I was 4.0. Then I came back to Australia, kept up all my exercise, and sorry, I should say, I did the recovery roller coaster like everybody else. So for the first 2 months, I hardly did any exercise because I was so tired, you know.
Yeah.
And I definitely was on the roller coaster. I caught a chest infection, I had a head cold, and I just felt tired. And that lasted for about 2 months. And then all of a sudden, I felt my energy shift. And my fellow patients, who we kept in contact with each other via WhatsApp, and she said to me, because I said, gosh, I just can't imagine going out for a walk again. You know, I just can't imagine it. And she said, Teresa, find a place with lots of seats. And we have that here in our area here, beautiful parks with seats. And there's one in particular where there's like a seat every 10 meters. So that's where I started. And I desperately needed that seat by the time I walked 10 meters to sit down. And I had my little walking stick.
Yeah.
And I think I could hardly walk very far the first time, but I just kept persisting and kept going to these parks with the seats. And slowly but surely, so if we wind forward to today, I can now do all the grocery shopping again. Ryan is a great cook, so I have to go to about 5 or 6 different shops, and I do that again. I couldn't do it when I first got sick. I can now walk about 1.5 kilometers before
Wow.
I have to sit down. Yeah.
Wow. Before you have
Now
sit
this,
down.
like I went for that 1.5 kilometer walk the other day by myself, and I had to sit down twice. But on a good day, I can do that walk without sitting down, and I don't use the walking stick. So I think, I hope I've explained that. But the things that I have lost, the symptoms I've lost, was able to wave goodbye to after HSCT. So I don't know if I mentioned, but when I had the second relapse.
Excuse me to interrupt. You should not forget that we had setbacks with a rehab because she's caught the shingles. And that really set us back doing the normal rehab work that we would have done.
That's right. Yeah.
To improve.
That's right. I got shingles, which was dreadful. But that's part of that recovery roller coaster, I think, you know. And yes, good point, Ronnie. But that upset me because it made me feel like I was had a disability again, because I was very fatigued from the pain-killing drugs they were giving me, you know.
Yeah.
But hopefully I'm coming out the end of that. But yes, when I was having my actual HSCT treatment, now when I went there, my whole body buzzed on the inside. I'm sure that there's people listening to this who know what I'm talking about, if that's one of your symptoms. It's like when you're buzz cutting a man's hair, you know, you hold that buzz cutter, and that feeling as you're cutting your hair, that's the feeling that was all throughout my body, including the full length of my tongue. When I had my chemo, when the chemo finished on that 6th day, that buzzing just stopped, just like that. I have the tiniest bit in the top of my right foot, and that's it. And the reason why I don't care about it buzzing in my right foot is because it's like my little reminder. And if I do push myself too hard, that's like my little warning sign. That little buzz gets really strong and it travels up my leg and it aches a bit. And that's the thing that says to me, okay, time to sit down, have a cup of tea. You're pushing yourself too hard on this walk you're trying to do. Just stop it. And my little sister told me that your body will tell you when it's had enough, and you just stop and you sit down and have a hot drink, and then 20 minutes later off you go. But the other thing I would like to say is I lost my fog brain. My brain was so foggy, and I was all depressed. I've never been a depressed person. I couldn't stop weeping. You can ask Reiner. My tears were just flowing. And the physiotherapist said to me, just let them flow. Don't try to stop because it's your body releasing stress. So it was constant that I would be weeping, couldn't get off a chair. I've never been a person to sleep during the day, but there I was sitting on a lounge chair all day. And there's one time I remember I just got up and I thought, I just wash this dish and a cup. And I couldn't stand at the sink long enough to wash a dish and a cup, you know. So it was really, really quite dreadful. But now here I am, wind the clock forward. I'm doing chores again. Ryan has always done the bulk of the chores. So I'm not going to claim to be one of these women that keeps this fantastic house. That's all Reiner does that. But I had my little chores I would do. I worked full time and I would do all the grocery shopping and all that sort of thing. And I was able to take the time off work. I had plenty of sick leave and so I was able to take the time off work for my recovery. So I feel very blessed about that. And my neurologist, who assessed me just 2 weeks ago for the first time since Moscow, he was very happy for me. He did ask me why I went to Moscow instead of continuing with Ocrevus. So I just said to him I wanted to be like my little sister. And he did my testing and looked at everything, my MRI scans and everything, and he just said, Teresa,
Yeah.
all your lesions are now fully stabilized. There's no activity. And if you keep up with your exercise work you're doing and your training, you will continue to improve. And he has reclassified me as EDSS 2.5.
No way. Super.
Yeah.
Super, Teresa. So fantastic story. It's a wonderful, fantastic story. I'm so happy for you and your family.
Yeah.
This is amazing. This is amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, hopefully all the MS people will see this. The decision to do a HACT treatment, this must become by everyone by himself. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The decision must be just to inform all. It is a possibility to stop CMS. It is a possibility there that you get your life back more and more,
Yes.
step to step. Is because now in Germany we are. There are some groups say, hey, there is no improvement, but they need more time. Now, for me, now my HSCT is 2 years ago, nearly 2 years, and I have the same, not the, but similar. I have PPMS, so it maybe takes longer time to recover, but I'm on the process, and I'm very, very happy. So
Yes.
you have a great community, the MS Australia website. Do you know this website? The MS
I know, I do know the website, but I do not, I must admit, I do not belong to anything like MS Australia or MS Queensland. That's the state we live in. My sister has all of that.
Yeah.
Excuse me for coughing. I think because I was already in my Russia HSCT chat group, and then I had now that I've had HSCT, I joined that Life After HSCT chat group, which is here in I think there's international people in that too.
Yeah.
And I just think because I have my sister, also Dr. Fedorenko has webinars that you can link into from time to time. And because I think now that I'm walking again and I go to 2 supervised exercise classes a week, for example, and I'll be starting back at work in June. I would have started back in February, but I got that shingles, which we didn't know I had shingles, so it went worse than it should have. Mine started as pain, not as blisters, and so it got really bad. But so my doctor said you can't go back to work till June. So I'm looking forward to going back in June. And now, sorry, I've forgotten where I
The
started from with
question
that
was
sentence.
why there is although in Germany not
Oh, yes.
is information
Yeah.
you cannot find in the groups and MS Australia is a big group. I mean, a very good homepage.
Yes.
But they didn't
No,
they
they
have
don't.
HACT? No, you cannot find informations about HACT.
No, because they don't offer it. And this is what frustrates me. And like I said to you, I want to say this respectfully because, as I said, every doctor and specialist that I've been treated by here in Australia have been wonderful and very knowledgeable and very caring and compassionate too. But and even specialists I've talked to, and some of them say, well, maybe they don't just offer it here in Australia because of the cost. But Matthias, if I had continued with Ocrevus for the rest of my life,
No
and there would be
question. No, there
there would
is
be an
no question,
infusion
Teresa.
twice a year,
Yes, 100% horrible.
32,000 Australian
Yeah,
dollars.
yeah. Well, what is this for?
And
Sorry. In my
yes,
my insurance also, my health insurance also denied it to take the cost over, and I say, hey, so Crevo's costs are much more than that. This is
yes,
once in a lifetime. Yeah,
yes, that's
Yes.
right. So that's what I don't understand
yeah,
because even recently here in Australia on one of our
mm,
news channels, there
yeah,
was a young family man who
yeah,
they gave HSCT for his MS.
mm,
And the reason was because he was not responding to any of the MS drugs. So the neurologist that was interviewed in this news program said,
mm,
so we gave him HSCT, which is the best treatment for stopping the progress of MS. And that is when I felt like throwing something at that television because I
yeah,
said, this man knows it. He works in the St. Vincent's Hospital in Sydney. He's
mm,
just said it on TV for us all to see in the news. If I had done Ocrevus twice a year for the rest of my life, that's $32,000 a year. And because I was in the public system, I have private insurance, but the
mm.
public hospital would have given me that Ocrevus for the rest of my life every 6 months. That would have cost taxpayers 32,000 Australian dollars a year.
I
HSCT
get the
here in
sorry, sorry.
Australia
I get the
costs,
same story. I got the same story,
yes.
and they tell me, who knows, Matthias, you are 55. You will die next year.
And see now,
So
and that
then
makes me furious too,
this is
because I know, Matthias, I don't know you very well, but I can just tell by talking to you that you're a man who has not only lived a good life and look how you're contributing to your
mm,
community,
mm,
you know, and so I feel like I've been in the workforce since I was 15 years old, and I feel like I've got a lot of good years still to live,
mm,
healthy years. I want good, healthy years to do what I would
yeah,
like to do.
yeah,
And for anyone to, I don't know how you did not lean across that doctor's desk and give him a good smack because it's like saying your life is over at 50 and it's not over at 50.
yeah.
It's not over. And we've still got a lot to give to the community and with what we do. And here they are saying, oh, look, what if you die next year? Oh, that is just a terrible thing to say. I can't believe it. But I didn't have that kind of attitude at all, I must say. I think what it is here in Australia is they might think, oh, there's some side effects with HSCT maybe, but then there's side effects with MS drugs too, which we all know when we look up our MS drug that we might be thinking of taking, you look up those side effects too. So I think everything that comes is a pharmaceutical thing, there could be side effects. My lucky thing where I feel blessed is I had a little sister who did that treatment in 2017 and she's had no side effects. And
Mm,
I've seen that improvement for her, that her MS did not progress and that she doesn't get that
yeah.
blindness and stuff now when she gets
What-
sick.
uh,
So I was lucky to see that. So I don't want to hear people telling me about potential side effects or
mm,
that they throw around or mortality rates and that because
yeah.
I don't I think if you can give HSCT to cancer patients, which they do here in Australia, um, they should be able to offer HSCT to MS patients and let us adults make that decision. They should say, look, there's these different drugs you can take, Ocrevus or Kesimpta or Mavenclad or whatever it is. We
Thank
also
you.
can do
Thank you.
HSCT for MS.
Yeah,
And then
thank
you,
you so
as the
much, Teresa.
adult, say,
Yeah, yeah.
this is what I would like to do.
Yeah. Thank you so much for these words. Thank you so much. I'm very, very happy to talk to you and to Rainer. Thank you also, Rainer, that you are on the side. I guess this was the best thing to say to finish the interview. Let the people decide. The people are in this situation. Let them to get to know this is HSCT. This is also the risk of HSCT. There are also some risks. That's, you must say in Mexico there was also a die. So there is a risk. There is a small, in my opinion, smaller risk. It's more risky to stay with MS and without. So
yeah, that's right. And yes, I think
yeah, to listen
yes,
to your story, I'm totally impressed and
yes.
thank you
Well,
so much.
Matthias,
Yeah.
I must say I am wanting to I wrote into the Russia HSCT group saying I'd like to collate a book of stories.
Mm.
And I want to call that book You're Not Sick Enough, Who Decides? Because I'm sorry, but when your life as you know it suddenly stops, and there would be people who may see this interview and they know they had all their plans and dreams. And the thing that frustrates me the most, now at least I'm a person in my mid-50s, so I got to have my career. I plan to retire around about 60, but I got to have a really good, wonderful long career. I have no debts because, I've worked long enough, Rainer, we have no debts. We've had plenty of beautiful adventures and wonderful holidays and things like that. And so when I went to Moscow, and my fellow patients were people in their 20s and their 30s, and a lady who was in her early 40s. And they're all people with children, with mortgages, who haven't necessarily gone and had all their lovely adventurous holidays yet, or, they're young people. And so we've got young people here in Australia, and I'm sure you have in Germany. Come on, let's give them a chance to stop the progress of their MS so they can get out there and live a really productive, good, happy, healthy adult life and live their dream, whatever that
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And
Fantastic. Yeah.
and and when you're in your 50s, I think you're still a very young person. And so I just think put all the options on the table and let us adults make a choice, especially if you're willing to pay for it. And to me, if you can somehow do it in your public system, because when you think of it that way, the public system was willing to use taxpayers' dollars to pay for me to have $32,000 worth of infusions every year for the rest of my life.
Mm.
If they had done HSCT, because that story we saw on the news about that young man, that neurologist said the HSCT treatment for that young man cost $32,000, coincidentally the same amount.
Mm.
One-off payment versus every year for the rest of your life. So even that, there's no argument there, because the cost of the continual infusion of drugs into a person is much more expensive than if you do HSCT. And hopefully that's a one-off treatment. And and look, my little sister, here she is 9 years later, doing fabulous. And I know of other people, they're like 13 years post, 15 years post, and they're still going strong. Dr. Fedorenko is still totally accessible to us all with his aftercare. You can send him any of your reports or questions, and he always comes back to you quickly.
Yeah.
He has webinars on YouTube that you can link into and ask him questions. So, you know, for me, it was just a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I used some savings to pay for it to get over there, but it was worth it. It was worth it.
I will try to get also an interview with Dr. Fedorenko. Yeah, this is my next idea. So for all people, maybe, yeah, please make an abo to my channel. I will open this to everybody, and will please post this. It will take a little few time. It is uploaded to my YouTube channel. And yeah, we keep in touch, Teresa. We keep in touch. Dear Rainer,
Yes.
thank you so much for this interview.
Matthias, you're doing a great job.
Yes, you
thank
are.
you.
Sure, you know, let the world know that HSCT is
an option, and a very good
a very
one.
good option.
The
yes.
best one, if you ask
Very,
me.
very good option. Thank
Yes.
you so much, guys. Please keep a little while on online. I will put all the informations under the title, all those websites from Dr. Fedorenko, and for any more questions, yeah, please contact Teresa on Facebook. We can say, or you can say something in my comments. And
yes, there's also the Russia HSCT chat group that you can join as a person considering going. So that's also an option. Yeah.
Get informed, stay in touch, and we are a great group. Happy life, and thank you so much. We will talk soon again, and I will visit you in Australia.
We would love that.
Greetings to Simon. Simon was on Mexico by Dr. Dinka Ruiz. Simon Mondela. This is the guy. Next interview will come. So
yes, he's coming home right now, I think.
He's coming home right now. Yeah. So Simon, you are the next one on the interview. Thank you so much.
Hello, Simon.
Yeah. And yeah, we stay in touch. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, you're very welcome. Thank you, Matthias.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Goodbye, everybody.
Stoppen.